Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. I know that it has been a really long time, a couple of months since I posted, but my life was pretty crazy. My jobs were taking over my life basically, and it's the new year, but I decided that I wanted to start making videos again and try to prioritize the things that I love, like reading, making videos, uploading, things like that. So I'm back with another video. Today I'm going to be talking about my favorite books of 2020. In 2020 I read a total of 57 books. My goal originally was 100. That was not going to happen. I lowered it to 70. Wasn't gonna happen. And then I lowered it again to 52 and I ended up beating that goal, got to 57, so yay me. But of those 57 books, there are 8 of them that really stood out to me and are just ones that I am constantly thinking about. So I'm going to talk about those 8 books today. I also have a couple of honorable mentions that I also want to talk about because I read like a majority of 4- and 5-star books this past year. So I have a lot of books that I wanted to talk about, but I really had to narrow it down. So there are going to be some honorable mentions at the end of this video. But let's get into my favorite books of 2020. So the first one I want to talk about is Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. This is a young adult contemporary novel. I read the arc of it right as it was coming out and just completely adored it. It is written entirely in verse, and it is about these 2 girls who realize that they are sisters after their father dies in a horrific plane crash, and one lives in the United States and the other lives in the Dominican Republic, and it is just so heart-wrenching and moving and just beautiful all at the same time. The 2 girls really learn to get over the jealousy that they have for each other and come together in the end, and it was just so beautifully done, and I cried at it. It was just one that I am always thinking about now, and it actually introduced me to Elizabeth Acevedo's writing. I had never read anything by her before. This is actually the first one that I've read, so I'm going to be reading more of her books now because this one was just so beautiful. And also, of course, all of these books are like 4 and 5 stars, so just want to throw that out there. The next one I want to talk about is The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson. Before I stopped on my little break from making videos, I was constantly talking about this book. It is so well done for a debut novel. Even like the author has even contacted me a couple of times after I've like posted Instagrams and things about her book, and she's thanking me, so that's like really cool to see. But she really deserves it because this was really well done. This book is about a young woman named Emmanuelle who lives in this puritanical society which is pretty much run by the church. Witchcraft is really looked down upon, and Emmanuelle soon finds out that her mother might have been consorting with witches in this dark woods near her village and her home, and soon after Emmanuelle ends up in the woods, runs into these dead witches, finds a journal of her mother's, and then kind of starts to realize the history of the church and her own town, and she has to deal with those repercussions as well as her own past. I loved Emmanuelle as a character, and I loved her relationship with I think it's the pastor's son? Prophet's son, sorry, messed those words up in my head, but the prophet's son. They start a relationship, and it's just so well done. And this is actually it's a horror novel, but also a fantasy novel at the same time. So if you're into those kind of things, or if you're looking for something like that, this is going to be a perfect fit for you. It does have a lot of violence and gore in it, so be well aware that that does happen. But I kind of really enjoyed that because I had never really read a horror / fantasy novel like combined together. So that was really cool to see, and it was just a wonderful debut novel, and I just highly recommend it. The next one I want to talk about is probably in the top like 2 of my favorite books of the year. This was in no particular order, but this one is definitely very, very high up there. It is The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. I have an arc of it here, but I will be getting a finished copy very, very soon because I loved it so much. This book follows a man named Linus who is a caseworker for the department in charge of magical youth, and he is tasked with going to this orphanage to kind of check in on these kids and the headmaster who works there and is taking care of them. And once there, he finds out that these magical youths are not what he was expecting, and the headmaster isn't either. This one is just so funny, so heartwarming. Linus and his relationship with the headmaster is just fabulous. There's LGBTQ plus rep in this between Linus and the headmaster, and it's just so beautiful. Linus's relationship with the kids is also just going to warm your heart, and I just could not stop laughing through this. There were a couple of more serious parts in it, but it was all in all just a very, very heartwarming book, and I highly recommend it to people who are looking for a good laugh, and I think it would be a perfect summer read as well. It's just so cute, so well done, and I cannot say any more, like, I cannot stop saying good things about this book. It's just phenomenal. I love it so much, and I'll probably be rereading it many more times in the future. Next, we have two books in a series. We have The Poppy War and The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang. These are the first two books in the Poppy War trilogy. I was planning on reading the third book this year as well, as I had received the arc of it, and I had started it, but something was just like putting me like away from it. I don't know, I just kept putting it down. I was originally doing a reading vlog for this series, so hopefully I can eventually finish that reading vlog, but these two were phenomenal. I really understand where all the hype was coming from for this series. The Poppy War is just so dark and action-packed and just phenomenal. I don't know why it took me so long to pick these up, but it did. I finally picked these up, really, really enjoyed them. If you don't know what it's about, it is about a young woman who gets into this esteemed military academy, and she trains to be a soldier, and then the rest is about war, and it's very gory. There are some really disturbing scenes in this one in particular, as this one also has it as well, but I just loved it. I could not stop reading. It was action-packed, drew me in from the first page. I just loved it so much, and I don't know why that third book was kind of like putting me off of it for a little bit. Hopefully I can get back to it soon and finish that out, and I hope I enjoy it as much as I enjoyed these two, but for sure these two were so good. I read them back to back. Next we have like probably the other book that's in the top two of my favorite books of the year. It is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. I have a signed copy, which is like just beautiful. Wow, that glare is just really strong there, isn't it? This book was truly beautiful. The writing was so moving and really drew me in. I just love the characters in this, and I was bawling my eyes out for multiple parts in this book, but I can tell that this was V.E. Schwab's baby. This is her child. You can tell how much work and effort she put into this book to make it what it is. I know a lot of people say that they can't really get into it too much, that it's kind of slow, and although that is the case in some parts, the writing is what really kept me reading. It was beautiful, absolutely beautiful, and I just couldn't stop reading it. I flew through it. I don't even know how long this is. It's like 400, almost 500 pages maybe, 450 pages about, and I just absolutely devoured it. I could not stop reading. I read an arc of it, and then had to get myself a finished copy. But I absolutely loved it, and if you are looking for a book that will probably break your heart into a million pieces, but then also put it back together again and, you know, be a little heartwarming and then just believe in love, this is the book for you, because that is what happened for me. But it is just so good. One of my top 2 favorite books of the year for sure. Next we have another epic high fantasy book, and it is The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter. I believe this one is also a debut novel. So good. Action-packed. Even though I didn't really care for the main character, I thought his choices were a little questionable at times, I still flew through it. It is pretty large book. This one I think is actually over 500 pages. But it follows a young man who watches his family get killed and vows that he will take revenge. So he becomes a soldier, even though he is kind of like, within the society, he's like one of the lowest castes in it. He does become a soldier, and he vows that he's going to become the best and kill the people who murdered his family. And he trains to do just that. So I love this book because half of it was taking place in kind of like a military academy, and you get to see him train, and you get to see his relationship grow with his fellow classmates and soldiers, and then the rest of it is the war itself. So I loved that there was a good balance between academic life as well as war itself. And I just thought it was great. The magic system is pretty interesting in this, and I can't wait to see how it is explored in the rest of the series. I do have the second book, Fires of Vengeance, I think it's called. Yes, The Fires of Vengeance. I do have that one. I cannot wait to read it, but this one was just a standout for me in 2020. And then finally, the official last book in this list for my favorite books of the year is City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. This is one that a lot of people were recommending to me, and I knew that it was one that I really wanted to pick up, and finally I did so, and well worth it, clearly, because it is in my favorite books of the year video. This is about a young woman named Nari who lives in 18th century Cairo, and she doesn't really believe in magic, even though she kind of has this unique healing ability. And then one day she accidentally summons a jinn warrior named Dara, and he whisks her away to the world of the jinn, and that being the City of Brass, which is Davabad, I think is what it's called. I believe that's what this trilogy is called as well, but this book is filled with a lot of magic, and there is action in it, but what I like about this one is it balanced the magic and the action with a really strong political intrigue vein of the plot. And I don't read a lot of books that have political intrigue in it, so it was very refreshing to see that in this novel. And I mean, I read books with political intrigue. A lot of fantasy books do have that, but that was like one of the main plot points of this. So I just loved it so much. I cannot wait to finish the trilogy. It's gonna probably be in the first few months of 2021 where I'm gonna finish that. I own both of them. They're up there. You can't see them, but they're there. And I'm very excited to get to those because this one was just epic, phenomenal. Loved it so much. And then before I end this video, I just wanted to talk about a couple of honorable mentions because it was very hard for me to choose these favorite books of 2020. So first, I'm not going to say too much about them, but first we have Take a Hint, Dani Brown, just a really lovable romance, adult romance book that has a lot of great representation in it. Just very funny, very cute, loved it so much. And then we have another adult high fantasy, and that is The Unspoken Name by, oh no, A.K. Larkwood. This one is another one with actually really good representation. It has a sapphic romance in it between the main character, who is an orc priestess, and then somebody who she meets later on. And it's just really fun, entertaining. It has a cool mix between fantasy and sci-fi, so it's kind of like a space opera vibe fantasy book, which is like really fun to see. So this one, I hope to get to a finished copy of that one as well. And then Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. This is a adult fantasy, but I would also categorize it as being horror as well. This one follows a young woman who goes to the estate, the house of her cousin, who is kind of being like held captive in a way. She's sickly and things are going down and it's very weird and strange. There's a lot of references to mushrooms. It's crazy. It's weird. But it was enjoyable at the same time. So the writing was another thing that was really, really well done in this book. But it was another one of my honorable mentions. And then one that I cannot find my arc of. I do not know where I put it. I'm trying to see if I can see it here, but I cannot. But it is The Gilded Ones by Namina Forna, which is a book that I got an arc of early last year, and it was supposed to come out early last year, but it was pushed back because of the pandemic, and now it's supposed to be coming out in February of this year. And guys, it's amazing. Really, really great writing, and the storyline is pretty unique as well, and it's just one that I think a lot of people will really enjoy, so check it out. That one is definitely one of my favorites as well. Alright, so there you have it, everyone. Those were my favorite books of 2020. Please let me know down below what your favorite books of 2020 were, or if you made a video or a blog post, please let me know. I would love to check it out. Please like this video and subscribe if you aren't already, and I will see you all next time. Bye!